Alright, what's up again? It's Opex. You're tuned into the mind of Opex. So today I'd like to talk about something a little different than usual, which I don't know what that even means on my channel. But let me hit this real quick and kind of like work through in my head real quick what I want to talk about. So today, just made it into Texas and figured I might as well make a video. Just woke up, I just made it into Texas. And well, what do I want to talk about today? Today is going to be something I want to discuss on the new generation. The new millennials, what to expect, and why it seems like such a huge difference from the generation before. For example, I consider myself a millennial, even though I wasn't like born in this millennium. But it is the new millennium, and we are the new wave of people. A lot of times when people think about the millennials, they think about like the teenagers and the kids in college and, you know, the younger generation. And that's cool, because that's who they are. That's the new millennials. I mean, it's 2016. And if you were born after like year 2000, you're a millennial, right? Automatically. But I was born in 1986. I still consider myself a millennial. Now, there's a huge problem with this next generation that's coming up. And this one problem branches out to many problems that are going to be disrupting our future. I'm not mad at the millennials. This is like when you're born into something that you don't understand, you can't see for yourself, and you're born into, like, for example, if you're born as a rat in a cage, and I've made this analogy before, you don't know any better. You don't know the outside world. You don't know what's going on. You just know that you're in a cage, you have your little water bottle, and, you know, that's what you know. Now, you have animal instincts in the whole nine, but ultimately, this is where you reside. You are conformed by your environment, your society, the propaganda. You're a product of your environment. So, think of it like this. Through the previous generations, we have slipped away. We've allowed the government to achieve more power and less power for the people. We went from a capitalist, nationalist society to crony capitalism. If you don't understand that, that's a video for another time. And when we took away our strengths as a nation and our power of the people, and we gave it to the government only gives us peanuts now. So many people need some sort of assistance to think that's what it takes for them to survive. The government's regulating everything, making small business, let alone large business, not be able to grow. You know, there's less jobs out there. Not like there was less jobs than there was 30 years ago. There's more jobs than there was 30 years ago, but less good jobs. And per capita, there are less jobs. With the increase of population and the decrease in, well, you know, really good jobs, there's a problem. So, of course, there's propaganda in school. Propaganda, you know, it's a left-wing propaganda that's going on in the schools, from colleges to even high schools to even younger. They're designed to brainwash you. And yes, that's what they're designed to do. They show a certain level of history. They don't show you everything. Even when I was in school, they were doing this. This isn't anything new. For example, they'll tell, like when I was a child, and I think I've said this on my channel before, when I was a child, I was reading up on what were we talking about? Like World War II. And of course, I'm reading it, and I asked the teacher, I'm like, how did Hitler kill 6 million Jews? He's just one guy. And they're like, oh no, they put him in concentration camps. And I was like, whoa, then why does this say Hitler killed 6 million Jews if he wasn't the one who killed Jews? Oh, well, he was the leader of the party. Okay, so why doesn't this say the Nazis killed 6 million Jews? And I just went in circles with her because, of course, I thought I was more intelligent than the teacher because the teacher's just spewing out nonsense. And I'm like, okay, so how did they get 6 million people to just walk into their death? And they were like, oh, well, they didn't actually just want to. They didn't want to go and just die. They were forced. Okay, how did you force 6 million people to cooperate? Then she couldn't give me an answer. Like, I don't know. Just read your history books. You don't need to learn all that stuff for the test. I have valid questions here. You're not answering my questions. Why is this propaganda? Why is it looking like Hitler was the evil guy? Now, of course, I'm not supporting what Hitler did. I'm not supporting, what was it? It was nationalism and socialism was Nazis. National Socialism is a Nazi. Today, in America, we're becoming globalist socialists in America. So, of course, we didn't have as much power as we did when we had capitalism and nationalism. And now they're trying to brainwash the youth to accept their socialism and hoping that they don't put two and two together. Well, Hitler was a socialist and a nationalist. And if we take the nationalist out of there and we put it to the global ideology and we take socialism and we call it democratic socialism or whatever the fuck they're calling it now, right? To divert the realism of the situation. And they brainwash you to accept socialism, which we all know is a communist and a Nazi idea. And that's how they were able to kill millions of their own people. So, education, brainwashing the youth. Now, of course, there's a lot more people than what meets the eye. There's a lot more people. Considering what we had about 50 years ago. There's a lot more people, especially in the inner cities. Inner cities have grown millions and millions of people over the last half century. And like I said, there's less jobs per capita, especially good jobs. They're all shipped overseas, if you haven't noticed. So, for somebody to do things on their own in today's society is very limited. Most people don't know what they want to do because there isn't many good jobs, and then the good job that they wanted, you know, they'll go to college for like 5-10 years, you know, to be able to get a good job because of how society's run thanks to government. With all the taxes, regulations, all the shit, you know, that government's instilling in business, people are less apt to start a business, let alone all the people that have failed. A lot of the jobs shipped overseas because it's a lot cheaper. Cheaper labor, cheaper on regulations and taxes. And I understand why. The government's trying to suck us dry. So, people, instead of going out and pursuing their own thing and have free opportunity in a free market, through capitalism, we have crony capitalism, where it's sort of like capitalism, but we're taxed out the yin-yang, we're regulated, we're forcing the free market to pay up, you know, to be sucked dry. So if you do survive, it's barely It's paycheck to paycheck shit, right? So people have to go to college. The new generation, there's a college for everyone now. There's community colleges. You don't even have to go to universities or anything like that. They have so many types of small community type colleges now that's what people think that you need. There isn't many good jobs, so if we want one of the good jobs, we need to go to college. So you go to college 2-4 years, you realize that's not what you want to do. There's no money there. There's no jobs there. So you go back in for another 2-4 years on something totally different. Oh, there's no money here. What's going on? Then you go in for another 2 to 4 years and on something else. And then you finally found, after this length of time, what you wanted to do. And there's a job opening for you. So everything worked out fine, right? You just spent 10 years in college. The government applies this, how do I put it? Okay, so the colleges receive money from the government in order for the government to help you with your tuition. Because the colleges get their money up front, they can charge whatever price they want, and the government will pay it. They won't try to, oh, $75,000 a year? No, you got to drop that to 60. No, $75,000 a year, because before government that was $25,000 a year. But because the government's for sure paying it for you, and the reason they're paying it for sure is because you're paying them back. So, I mean, it's not like the government's just giving you free shit. This is taxpayer money. This is people that are working, businesses, individual people, doesn't matter. They're paying all this money to make sure that you go to college. And then you get charged out the yin-yang, let's say $75,000 a year, obviously not at community college, but you know what I'm talking about. They can charge whatever they want. The colleges are getting the money. And then you're spending 10 years in colleges, and you're spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars, just to find that one field you wanted. So you're 10 years behind the curve on starting your job, and then 10 years to pay back that money. You're essentially 20 years behind just trying to pay back that tuition, the college scam. So this is the new millennial thing. And no, I don't blame millennials. They're stuck in a paradigm where they have an option. Do I go into the workforce and get paid minimum wage and try to make it by? Or do I mean, there's less trades out there already. There's way less trades. Everything's corporate slave type jobs. So they're stuck. I need to go to college to get a good job. And then they realize there's not even those jobs out there because they're getting taxed out the yin-yang and the whole nine. Those types of jobs, those fields, and there's a lot less because companies need to save money. They're never going to prosper if they're paying you $75,000 a year and then have to pay another $75,000 a year to insure you and all the other shit and taxes and regulations just for you. Are you worth it to the company? Probably not. They'll figure out something else. They'll put a machine in there to replace you. For example, so millennials are being shafted left and right. They've been brainwashed by the state that socialism's good, so now they are stuck on welfare or government subsidies in whatever fashion, whether it's food stamps, whether it's, I think it's DDS or SSI or, Section 8, where they'll give you housing and stuff thanks to charging the taxpayers more. So what we're doing is we're destroying capitalism, which this is clearly what the agenda is. Destroy the free market, make everyone's life harder is what they're doing. They're making it so people stay at home, reliant on the government, and with this type of mentality, we are actually constructing a brainwashed society thinking that this is what we need without the process of critical thinking. I've almost went on welfare and shit before, food stamps just to get by. I've almost done it, and actually I was turned down once because I'm a white guy who's been starving and sleeping in the streets. And they turned me down. And yes, there's been a time in my life where things clearly weren't going well for me, and I needed it. I had no one giving me money. I had my jobs weren't paying it. I got fired from my job, and I was a couch surfer slash street sleeper, and they turned me down. They turned me down because I was white without a drug problem. That's what they told me. Well, you are white, so you can just go to your family. I mean, your family should be able to help you, right? Someone in your family's got money. I was like, no, they're not helping me. I'm sleeping out in the streets. And then they were like, well, yeah, I mean, if you had a drug problem or something, you know, maybe we can help you. No, I'm doing the best I can. I'm stuck. I'm a product of society. What's going on in society right now? Homeless people are a product of society. Society isn't a product of lack of motivation, which the welfare state and this new subsidies from the government system is designed to make us all poor. The middle class don't have the jobs that they used to, so boom, they're shut down and put into the fucking poor class. Alright, so you understand now that there isn't much of a choice for millennials. They have to take a specific route. I mean, they can go one or two ways. They can be poor their whole life, or risk 20 years of their life to maybe prosper in 20 years. Alright, so again, if you're watching this video and you're like, I got a good job, how old are you? How long ago was that? And yes, there are exceptions, you know, and I've said this a lot. If you're looking for a great job, you don't just go out and get the first job you can get. It takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and a lot of motivation to keep at it. It might take a few months to finally get the job opportunity that you wanted. Of course, when millennials get out of school, when the kids get out of school, high school, and then they go into college, they don't generally know what they want to do. And more than half the time, they don't actually work in the field that, you know, they went in for the first few years of college. That's not the field they end up getting. So it's almost like a scam. Woo! Conspiracy minded. There's scams. Oh my God. The government's working with the colleges. Scam to take your money. And personally, I don't like my money taken away every paycheck. I believe we need the free market and to take government out. If we take government out of the equation, out of our life, out of our marriages, out of everything, out of obviously our income, out of the free market, out of business, if we take government out of this, millennials can prosper. It'll bring jobs back into America. It'll create a new wave of motivation and jobs, and, you know, get people off of dependence and actually go out and get out of their safe zones, out of their brainwashed state, and go out and actually pursue and be prosperous in their own individual lives that can provide for their family, instead of hoping 20 years from now. And all the good people trying to go to college, and all the new kids and stuff trying to do what's right, they're not even having kids anymore. They're not even having sex. They're not even able to do what they want to do in their life. Let alone, you already know my aspects on the traditional relationships where women, I mean, watch that video. Watch that video on traditional relationships. The roles for women, the roles for men, for the most successful, happy relationships. The new millennial fucking government system, come on. It totally goes against your freedom, your happiness, and your longevity, your pursuing of your life. Things are so much harder nowadays. People can't pay rent. They're living paycheck to paycheck, still trying to go to school to make something happen. And They're just stuck. They're enslaved. This new generation is fucked unless we get government the fuck out of here. I'm an anarchist. I still need my anarchy video to come up. I've been avoiding a lot of my videos that I've been talking about for a long time, but I need to talk about anarchy so you guys understand my mindset a little more. So think of it this way. Just a generation ago, actually it was like 2 generations ago, it was probably like in the 60s, people accepted the new wave of socialism. Socialism came into our government, into all of that stuff, slowly but surely through the 60s, started becoming way more evident in the 70s, into the 80s, and it got really bad in the 90s, and here we are in the new millennium, and it's even worse. Socialism is taking over government, programs have been on the rise, our taxpayer dollars, all the money we should be making, we're not making. You know, it even started way before the 60s when the banking scheme came into America, where we stopped getting our whole paycheck and they started taking some of our income tax, supposedly to pay for the debt. Get on my video on slavery. My video on slavery will detail how we've gone from plantation slavery to our new plantation under government. We are free-range slaves. In the newest generation, George Orwell, in his book 1984, had no idea it would even get to this point. It's gotten bad. There is absolutely no freedom to pursue what you want in life, especially as the new generation. I mean, your tuition's extremely high. You need college nowadays. It sucks. It's a fucking scam. And, you know, the saddest thing is that these millennials go after people like Bernie Sanders, and I support Bernie. He wants to, you know, make it easier for us to go to college and shit. For what? To increase the scam? They're scamming you out the yin-yang. Bernie Sanders is a fucking shill. Bernie Sanders is bought and paid for by the colleges to make this happen. So the colleges make more money. Don't you understand the scam? And the millennials are going crazy trying to get capitalism out, pursuing your life and being prosperous. They're trying to take that out. They've been brainwashed by the colleges. Of course your fucking professors are going to try to get you in line with Bernie Sanders because they're increasing their fucking paycheck even more. So I seen a video on Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff went into like socialist type rallies from the millennials, and they wanted to stop Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street, as if Wall Street's the problem itself. Wall Street is not the problem. They are a branch out of the original problem. Not the original problem, but the secondary problem, which is government. Government is the actual problem. Peter Schiff talks to these millennials. They don't understand what he's saying. They think that, oh, Wall Street's the problem. Wall Street is the direct cause of the problem. No. Peter Schiff explains it very well to all these millennials, and they don't get it. So they've been brainwashed to the point where they don't even accept new information. Peter Schiff's part of the 1%, right? He goes up to these millennials and says, hey, I'm part of the 1%. Let's talk. You know, going up to all these people who hate the 1%. And he's like, hey, I understand. We've been taxed out the yin-yang. If we didn't get taxed so much, we can actually be able to afford more people and make it prosperous. But no, we're shipping jobs overseas thanks to government. Wall Street isn't shipping jobs overseas. Wall Street isn't paying your paycheck. Us 1%ers pay your paycheck, and we want to pay you more, but we can't because the government's taxing us 30% on our business, 30% on you, 30% here on our machines, on our business. They're destroying the fabric of capitalism. And because there is no capitalism, we can't allow you to prosper, or else we could never prosper. And if we can't prosper, we can't give you jobs. And the millennials are just brain dead, like, nope, it's Wall Street, it's Wall Street. No. The truth is what Peter Schiff was saying. Yeah, Peter Schiff is a millionaire, a billionaire, or whatever, right? He's part of the 1%. Perhaps even 1% of 1%. But he's a straightforward guy. Hey, I'm going to try to help you out. This is not the problem. If you went to Washington, D.C., that is where the problem lies. That is exactly what's going on here, because now we have crony capitalism. They're taxing us out the yin-yang, and they're having all these regulations, and we can't even allow ourselves to prosper, let alone you. If you went to Washington, D.C., go to Pennsylvania Avenue or whatever, that's where you need to protest. And I'm totally for this, so we can all prosper out of this. If I had 10 employees, paying them $30,000 a year right now, imagine if you went and destroyed the government, got them all out of the equation, and we actually had free market capitalism. Not only would I be paying you $50,000 a year, but I would have 10 or more even employees to pay that. But you got to understand capitalism. If they're taking away from the rich and the people who actually are in the middle class or even in the poor class, everyone's getting taxed. Everyone's getting their money and putting it towards government and government subsidies. And that makes the poor class stuck. Because you're not going to get that little handout unless you don't prosper in your life. If you start prospering, the government will make damn well sure you don't. You're not going to get this little handout if you prosper. And then we're going to start taxing you out the yin-yang so those people that didn't prosper can start getting that money. And just crumbs, peanuts. So I hope you understand the cycle that's going on in today's generation. People are being born into brainwashed hysteria that this is what we need, socialism. It is totally a 180 from free market capitalism and prospering. Now, they're making sure no one fucking prospers. Even the top 1% of 1% can't even help you. And they're billionaires. They can't take the risk because of government. You can't start your own business without knowing someone in the top 1% that can give you a loan. Because banks aren't giving you a loan anymore. Now we're down to community banks. I mean, government has fucked up everything for this new generation. I can go on all day about this topic. I can go on all day about all my topics, but I got to keep this short as possible. So I hope you get something out of this. Maybe perhaps subscribe to my channel. You'll get a lot more information. Start understanding how things tie together. And yeah, I guess that's enough for now. I hope you guys get something out of this. I hope you understand that the real problem is government, because people cannot put their money and faith in you and you allowed to be prosperous if you're stuck on those government regulations, taxes, and the whole scheme. Now, of course, there's a step higher from the scheme, the banks, but that's not what we're talking about in this video. We're talking about lower level, obvious things that I can show you, that I can explain to you with reason, evidence, and logic. Because we're not going to change anything if we're just emotional. We need something fixed, but we're not going to figure out where the root and cause of the problem is. Therefore, we have things like Occupy Wall Street. Therefore, we have these side quests to accomplish nothing. Protests don't work unless you protest the problem. Like, government's the problem. I can't just go to my job and say, pay me more. And they're like, sorry, we can't. You know what I mean? You got to go to the root of the problem. All right. That's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I got plenty more content coming soon. So stay tuned. I would love for myself to get more subscribers. If you want to start watching my videos, I would love it. And you would probably benefit a lot. So thanks for watching. Peace, love, happiness, and longevity. I'm out.